The last film I want to show is a really special one that happened right after COVID. This was the Brooklyn Bridge Park for Michael van Valkenburg, and he was up for the Rosa Barber Prize, which is kind of like the Pritzker Prize, but for landscape architecture. And this, it's a 20-year project it took to take this existing waterfront edge and actually create kind of public space. So I'm going to flash these. This was the existing, this is the new. Really, I mean, it's unbelievable, this kind of transformation of this project. There's actually the parts out in the water, and then they kind of created these raised berms to stop the sound from coming in. So there's kind of these two zones, which was really important. Here's kind of the scale of this thing. This is a soccer field. It was a lot of work. We were there on site for 7 days, kind of documenting all these different places. We had to get permits and kind of figure out how we were going to move throughout the space. I went out there and filmed it. It was really cool. But the best thing is Michael said, I don't want any architects talking about this project. I just want to hear from the people. And everything you see is random encounters that I had with people, just asking them about their day and what they appreciated about the space. And what's interesting is you'll find out that the design intent is revealed without any architects speaking about it, which is really cool. And this is where all the interviews happened. So it was nicely kind of spaced throughout. And then there was this idea of there's like a passive pier and then an active, like where the sports were, and then passive and then active. And and so we try to kind of have this rhythm throughout the film as well to piece that together. But yeah, this is really cool. This is a special one that I wanted to share.
I was taking care of this elderly gentleman who lives up on Columbia Heights, and I was describing to him what was happening on the piers. He had a big picture of the piers with all the warehouses on them from when he first moved here with the ships and everything out there. And he was in his 80s. He was blind. He was sort of housebound all the time. And once they opened, I said, I really want to bring you out of the house, take you to the park, and take your shoes off and let you walk on the grass. That was a really special moment to be able to give that to him. And he died just a couple of years ago, but it was one of those things that you think, okay, this is probably the only opportunity this man's going to have to come put his bare feet in the grass after living in Brooklyn all these years. I'm sorry. But we used to come out with our coffee and sit on the promenade and watch it develop. It was like watching Central Park be built. It's enriched our lives so much.
I have lived in Brooklyn Heights for 34 years, and we could just look at the waterfront through a chain link fence. Then this wonderful idea came up to build a beautiful park.
It accommodates so many different groups of people and animals and plants. You get to have so many perspectives from way up high and down lower and lower and lower until you're at the waterfront.
We just threw some rocks in the water and made wishes off of them. But we usually just stroll around, have some ice cream. It's just like a little escape from the city.
It's a beautiful place, and it sort of brings together nature and human beings in a very holistic environment. I just love this part right here. Although it looks like a thoroughfare, it's one of those little undiscovered spots and makes me work very well. I've done a lot of work sitting on a bench like this.
A few weeks ago on a Friday, I was working here and I heard some jazz music in the background. So when I got off from work, I walked towards where I heard the music, and there was this pop-up jazz that was happening. So I just sat there and I listened. It was a lovely evening.
struck me about New York when I first started living here is how much water there was and how little access there was to it. And this park just kind of flipped that on its ear. It's just increased water access like you wouldn't believe.
For me, it's very peaceful. I go paddleboarding to just relax. I take my spot by the Manhattan Bridge, just sit down for a little bit, turn around and come back. And I just love it. This park is amazing for that.
This is like a meeting place, so like my friends from all over. I have friends right downtown in Red Hook, friends in East New York, Brownsville, Harlem, Queens. So we all come here to play because there's so many courts, you know, they all have nets and such a pretty scene.
We come here to ball. That's the best court over there. You come down, it's for the kids. It's beautiful to see that New York gets these kind of things. But yeah, man, it's a blessing to be here and have this here for us. Look at all the people out here, man. It's beautiful. We deserve this. Brooklyn.
Yeah, I love that. One of my favorites is that woman who talks about throwing wishing rocks in because she was just like, I'm sorry, I gave you nothing, you know, because she felt like that wasn't what we needed, or not even needed, but like, I'm just like, that's my favorite quote I've ever gotten, you know, like that's what every architect is designing for, is for people to throw the wishing rocks, you know, in the water. It's all about the experience. And I know it's a little bit cheesy, but if you haven't seen The Mandalorian, you know what, he has this quote where he just says, "This is the way." And I get students all the time that ask me like, how did you know like that you were gonna do this? And for me, it was like when it finally clicked, like there was no other way, you know? Like I listen to Conan O'Brien a lot, and he kind of talks about how people will be like, man, if you didn't get the Late Show, like what would have you have done? And he's like, well, I would have done comedy because that's just who I am. I'm a comedian. And so like, it's just, you know, I think when you know it, you know it. So that's my story.